Why not talk about one of the Derby entries, Golden Horn, just to warm things up? And of course, Golden Horn is the rage at the moment. Will he stay?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I do, definitely think he'll stay. I mean, that was a real strong Dante, wasn't it, at the mile and a quarter? It was a proper test, and it looked to me at the end of the race that, that jockey had a real good hold of him at the end of the race. And no, I think he'll stay all right.
Okay, and Jack Hobbs is probably a similar question, but it's not so much the staying, but whether he's ready for the race now. He's by Halling. They usually improve 4-year-old, big sort of staying 4-year-old is where I would expect Jack Hobbs. Is this the race right for him now, do you think?
No, I don't think this race is. I mean, I think he'll be a horse that we'll see more at Royal Ascot over the mile and a half. Big, heavy top horse, still looks a big baby. He hacked up in that race, and I don't know, he would have learned probably quite a bit last time, but I just thought that I could see him having trouble on that camber.
Yeah, a bit possibly, I wouldn't want to use the term gangly, but he's a big boy, and it might take a little time to mature, not just mature, but time to realise what Epsom's all about. I mean, he would have had a breeze round there with Breakfast for the Stars. But
I don't think, I don't think that Breakfast with the Stars, I mean, I don't think it gives us, I try not to watch it really at times, really, because I just think, you can...
Well, did you get up for it in time?
You can't, what can you read into that? I just think, I'd rather see the trials than try and work things out that way, really. So I don't pay any attention to any of that.
Arguably a little bit too much hype around it then, and you won't...
I think it is, yeah.
And you won't be getting worried about those contracted prices that came out of Breakfast with the Stars. Going to keep just rolling through some of these Derby runners whilst we have got the time. And Elm Park, now that might be one that's up there in your ratings, but disappointed last time out.
Yeah, Elm Park... I was a little bit disappointed before. Yes, the horse, of course, can improve and could improve massively on that. But I don't know. I had a problem with the horse at Newmarket last year. Didn't look to handle those kind of ups and downs there. They blamed the ground. I'm not sure it was that really. And also, we'll probably talk about more after the break, is the speed element that I like to see in a Derby. And I'm not sure whether the horse actually has that.
But I mean, the speed element maybe was on show in the Racing Post Trophy when in top 2-year-old, no?
Yeah, well, no, it was soft ground, wasn't it, in that, and it just looked like the horse was absolutely grinding things out to me. Not sure how speedy the horse is. I mean, you have to improve an awful lot on that Dante run. You can say, yes, he needs the run, one thing another, but I'm a great believer that in those kind of races, you don't send a horse. There's too much money involved. They weren't saying before the race that he was going to come on a ton. It always seems to be used, I think, as a little bit of excuse afterwards. He's got a lot to find for me, Elm Park, and I just don't like him on the track.
Well, in terms of how much money it could sort of not waste, but how much it costs to get them entered. I mean, late entries of Golden Horn, the supplement there was a couple of £100,000. Do you think it's a no-brainer? I mean, they could have gone for the French version last week.
Yeah, there's only one Derby. I mean, it was absolutely no-brainer. The way he done it, as well.
Okay. In terms of festival as well, is there any of these 3-year-olds you're a bit worried that you want to see in the paddock because they could possibly lose their head amongst the big crowds expected down at Epsom? Catch the Ferris wheel with one eye or smell the burgers from the stands, mate. Some of them get worked up, don't they?
That's always concern. I mean, that's just it, isn't it? It's like any sport. It's all right if you pay local or semi-professional football anywhere, but it's that step up. You've got to take in the whole occasion. There's a lot of fanfares. There's all kinds of things going on the horses have to take in, and I don't think it's any excuse to say, well, the horse blew it in the paddock or they blew it on the way down to the start. 'Cause at the end of the day, that's part of it, isn't it? The preliminaries, everything that you've got to go through, you need to do.
Certainly, and I mean, if there is one getting worked up, there was certainly a few last year. I remember Orchestra was sweating for one. Geoffrey Chaucer was another who arguably should be looked at again and not be discussed on his Derby of last year. But anyway, and moving on, let's actually get into some of those ratings if we can. As I say, we're going to really try and get into this. That's it. Grab your ratings, the all-important ratings. Jack Hobbs, surely when he streaked away, what was the length of the victory on that day? It was some double-figure length runaway, and he was a very popular one to get straight on the back of that win. How highly do you rate Jack Hobbs?
Yeah. Actually, I think I've rated him, believe it or not, on that Sandown race. I rated him 125.
So you got carried away as well?
Well, I did, and I think he is that. I think he's very much is that. I mean, this form at the Dante with Golden Horn winning it. What I would say about that race, I think Golden Horn had the run of the race. It was a good pace. I think William Buick sat at the back, where Jack Hobbs, not forgetting this was the first time he'd ever, been in a proper race from a handicap company, from doing it on the bridle, to be asked at York in the home straight to then to battle. And of course, Golden Horn's kind of crept up there, got into the race nicely, and then quickened in very good style. And I'm an absolutely firm believer with a Derby is that normally when you look back through the years of what win the Derby, they are normally horses that quicken, then they barely get a mile and a half anywhere else. And for me to win a Derby, you need to quicken twice. You need to quicken to make your challenge, and then you have to quicken again. Workforce comes to mind. Look what he did. It's that sudden potent turn of foot, and that's what is a classic winner is all about. I mean, Jack Hobbs, he just looked to me very much like he was asking Frankie Dettori, well, what do you want me to do? It was the first time off the bridle. Elm Park back in third. I can't see him overturning that form. I think this form is red hot. Golden Horn, I had produced into a mark of 130. That's £2 above what I'd normally have a Derby winner. Will he stay is a big question. He's around the 7-4 mark. Is that any value when you've got that slight doubt of a trip? No. Do I think that the horse... I think this race is deeper than 7-4.
I think that's a very respectable point as well. And some people that will be sitting there on their tenterhooks wondering whether Golden Horn will stay will remember you'll remember the year, Benny the Dip, where he beat Silver Patriarch. I think it was 97, and that was obviously Gosden's last and only winner of the Derby. Now, Benny the Dip, in a similar situation, didn't know whether he would stay, but they put him out at the front, had a crack at the race, and he just went on and got his head down and went to the line. It was gruelling, some of it, and it may well be for Golden Horn. But if you were a punter, and we'll find out what your bet is, and I think you said you're going to pull one out of that, but if you were on Golden Horn, you would want to see this horse run positively, would you not?
Yeah, you would do. And we were talking about Aidan O'Brien there earlier on. I mean, he's a great tactician. So I was thinking to myself yesterday, now, what's he going to be thinking? He's going to be thinking, right, the one we've got to beat, he's got a slight stamina doubt. They're put pace into this race, because what they won't want is him to show that turn of foot he's got. I think they're going to go a proper pace with that. And I think maybe Hans Holborn, who looks a ledger type to me, he made all, didn't he, at Chester? And I think that might be the pace angle, for O'Brien there.
For O'Brien, with his tactical setups, he's obviously filled Hans Holbein, Kilimanjaro, as well as Giovanni Canaletto here. This trio of runners is quite a commonplace thing now in the Epsom Derby. You think Treasure Beach rolls up there out of nowhere on a big 25-33 to 1 shot. Is he playing the tactics game again here, or have they all got chances?
I think they'll all be there. Hans Holborn for me would have to be the more likely pace angle, because he stays. He's been round Chester. He's handled the demands of that. Admittedly, it was on soft ground, and it was over. It was half a furlong more than what he's going to be tackling in the Epsom Derby. Remembering that it's 1 mile 4. That was a mile 4.5. And Hans Holborn, of course, beat Storm of the Stars and Medrano. Storm of the Stars went on to win the Cockack Stakes. I've got a feeling this Hansborn is going to be the pace angle. He's around, around the 16 to 1 mark at the moment. That might just look a little bit big on Saturday. A
little bit juicy if he's up there with the pace. And Giovanni Canaletto, arguably Aidan O'Brien's best chance in this race. The one that's been backed all day here. As we're filming here, it is Tuesday evening, so a good few days to the Derby yet. But it's been smashed in today. Some markets opened up 14, 12 to 1 the like, all the way into 13 to 2, 17 to 1, around that area now. Why do you think the money's come there? I mean, I know Ryan Moore's been confirmed on it. Is it as simple as that, or has somebody seen a piece of work in the yard, or what can we expect the money for here?
No, I wasn't as disappointed as many when he got beat last time. Went off even money. I think this is real good form. I mean, you've got Prince Gagarin, who is in third, and if you remember, he was on that day, he was due to run at Goodwood and didn't, but Prince Gagarin gave some weight before, and I actually went through some collateral form lines, and that Prince Gagarin doesn't come too far behind the favourite for a couple of complex form lines. I thought that performance was all right. Had him run into a mark of 1-2-3 that day. OK, he might need to improve £7 to beat the likes of the favourite, but I just thought that race over in Ireland, not much pace. I thought when they quickened, he just got caught out a little bit, but in the closing stages he made inroads, and I don't know, I can see why. 20 to 1, which it was on Sunday when I saw, that was ridiculous. Whether I back it at that price that it is now, absolutely not. But
No.
I can see the angle. I think that form at the Curragh last time could be okay.
Well, the form that you talked about there, and a horse that it ties in with there, Prince Gagarin, of course, has its favourites down at the Goodwood racetrack, racing in those red, yellow and white colours. All of his fans are down at Goodwood, and that was where Storm the Stars came up, wasn't it, in the Cocked Hat Stakes. Now, viewers at home, you may be wondering, why are we considering this 25 to 1, 33 to 1 shot? But upon my arrival here today, that was exactly what Valuerator said to me. So let's spend a good couple of minutes on this one.
Okay.
Valuerator, Storm the Stars.
Yeah, best price 33 to 1. This horse ran in that race. Hans Holborn won the race at Chester, which was a group through Chester Vars. Only a length and a quarter behind Medrano. Was in third. Now, what was interesting about this run for me was on soft grounds.
I mean, you say Medrano. Why Medrano? What's significant about Medrano?
Well,
where was the form there?
Well, Medrano came out after they met each other again the time after at Goodwood, and he actually this time stormed the Stars. He beat half a length around Chester, and this time he beat it further around Goodwood. Now, in this race at Chester, which on soft ground, it's very important that you don't want to be going too wide. In the home bend, he had to go out 5 deep, and I think in the circumstances, very, very well. Ultimately, finishing second. They said he was unbalanced in a lot of comments. I thought it was the ground for me. It was very soft ground. I thought he was rolling around on the ground, did okay. And when he came back onto good ground at Goodwood, over a mile free in that race, he made all. Now, I don't think he's a horse that has to make all. I just think on that day they were very mindful to think, right, we need some pace, we definitely stay. There was a lot of negative comments about the horse looking unbalanced in the closing stages. I didn't see that. I thought he handled the track well. I thought that if you'd have run this race into the town centre, they wouldn't have got past him. I thought he won really well. What really interests me and was really kind of like the nail in the coffin for it is when I went back to last October, at Nottingham. There was only a Class 4 race, and of course the winner of that race was Golden Horn, who I will remind you is 7 to 4 favourite for the race. Storm the Stars finished ahead behind him when going off even money that day, with 7 lengths back to champion Bob. Now, I've watched that race back many a times, and Storm the Stars, Golden Horn, of course, a place like Nottingham is a place that John Gosden likes to train horses. It's a wide open space. It's good education for the horse. Back of the field, looking like it was going nowhere, and showed a terrific turn of foot. Now, what was interesting at the furlong pole was that Storm the Stars, it looked like Golden Horn's going to go past and he's got a furlong, he's going to win easy. He didn't. Storm the Stars was battled to him all to the line. What interests me about that is, it shows he must have some speed, because we've seen the turn of foot that Golden Horn showed over the mile and a quarter. This Storm the Stars, I think this has been overlooked. And when you subscribe he's 33 to 1 for a horse that's finished ahead behind Golden Horn at the back end of last year, 7 to 4, 33 to 1, I don't know. I think that this horse, providing the ground is no worse than good to soft, he's a definite investment for me, and there'd be the reasons why.
Case closed, Valuerator, on that one. It sounds Storm the Stars. One question there, really, or question, but not about the form of the horse, but more about how we can get more into the value bets that you're putting up. Okay, Storm the Stars trainer William Haggis has had a plentiful time over the last May. He's had an absolutely brilliant May. Have you been advising any of William Haggis's horses? And if so, how can we get hold of them? How can we know, what Valuerator's putting up daily or even weekly?
Okay, so we've got a new website that's been launched, valuerator.uk.com, and don't worry, I'm not, if you're signing, I'm not after your money. There's lots of things. There's a new podcast with Audio Boom on there. Obviously, the highlights from this show as well will be on there. And I have got a separate tipping service, which is £20 a month, which you get free value investments a week. But, go on there. There's a newsletter now that you just have to sign up for that. You get all the news of what's happened with Valuerator at the moment. Are
we recording results, or are we running away?
No, it's very open. It's very open and transparent. I mean, if anyone wants a copy of the results, you'll get them every month. Just sign up to that newsletter.
Excellent. Okay, well, let's just talk about a few more in the field. I do want to try and touch on on at least all of them really, or all of the market leaders before we get Barry Orr from Betfair on the phone. Brilliant for Barry to join us. He'll be with us in just a few moments to talk about the big market movers, and I'm sure he's got a fancy for the race as well. He usually puts up something quite bold. Kilimanjaro is one that we haven't touched on. I quite like. I was there at the day at Epsom when Christopher Marlowe won the Derby trial. Won it very well, hit the front. This is my take on it, by the way, not the expert's take. He won the race well, hit the front too early, arguably. Frankie Dettori drove him out last 2 furlongs, beat the opponent. And Kilimanjaro then went on to beat Christopher Marlowe at Lingfield. And we've been talking about tracks that replicate Epsom Downs. One of those is certainly Lingfield. That Derby trial performance by Kilimanjaro, respected, and is as big as 20-1 in places.
Yeah, I kind of hear what you're saying there, because I had a look. I mean, if I remember about the race, when the stalls opened, he got dropped out about 20 lengths off the pace, Ryan Moore, and he kind of crept into the race. He wears that hood for a very good reason. I must admit, I mean, the form of the race, I didn't like Christopher Marlowe going in for the race. Again, the horse didn't show much speed to me when he won at Epsom. But beating Magic Dancer, is that really Derby winning form? I don't think it is. But what I will say is that when he did hit the front, he wasn't doing a tap. You could see that there's probably a lot more underneath the bonnet. It's just, I think it's whether he wants to show it.
Or whether or not even a Lingfield trial is good enough to go ahead and win the Derby.
No, I mean, I generally like to see a horse, you know, I like to see him winning a group race before they go, you know, into that, which he hasn't done. That was only a listed race. You know, Magic Dancer had an official mark of 81. I'm sure Magic Dancer's better than that, but still, it would have to be it'd have to probably be about £30 better than that for Kilimanjaro. But I take your point, and I do think Kilimanjaro is probably a horse that may well turn out winning like a Group 3 or something, but I can't see it being a classic horse.
Okay, just going back to Storm the Stars, which is, if you didn't hear, Value Rater's class act, I believe, isn't it, Storm the Stars? It's likely, especially by the market, they don't usually get it this wrong, let's be honest, it's likely that there are going to be 1 or 2 in front. Now, there's no problem in backing Storm the Stars for an each-way place, for it to come in there and win you your 5 to, your 5-1 or 4-1 or whatever your quarter or fifth of the odds may return. But it is very likely that something like Elm Park, Golden Horn, will be in front of it come the finishing line. Which one, if you were to have a win bet, would you side with?
Yeah, Storm the Stars.
Come on.
I mean, honestly, Storm the Stars, I mean, believe me, it was, when I looked at this race all on Saturday, and I went to bed on Saturday night, and I thought, blimey, what am I going to give for investment? I didn't think I was going to have an investment, and sometimes I just go to bed, sleep on it. I had a re-look in the morning, and it suddenly hit me. I, like everyone else, might have been looking at this form, and that's what it's 33-1. But it wasn't until I really went into it, and that form, I can't get away from that form of Golden Horn last year for that head beat. And I urge anyone, if you think I've lost the plot completely, do go and watch that race back. And as soon as you watch it, I assure you'll be in agreement with me and you'll be off to back it.
Okay, strong stuff again. So Storm the Stars is the winner of that race. One that we haven't touched on, but not many people have touched on, certainly in the betting front today, is Zorak. Now, news came out of the yard from the Dermot World yard. And disappointing for obviously Pat Smullen, who would have travelled over for that one booking there on Zorak. News from the yard that there was a slight setback after a piece of work. What do we mean by that, and what can we infer from it?
Exactly.
Not a lot is what you're saying?
Not a lot. We don't know. If the horse turns up on they won't take any chances with the horse. If it had a serious knock, they wouldn't be coming to a race like this. There's too much value involved. Forgive the pun. But this horse, let's concentrate on the horse there and what he's done so far. He's coming into a 7-1 shot. I think it's terrible value. That, I mean, the trip concerns me with the horse. What I would say is that last win he had at listed level, beating Endless Drama 3.5 lengths. Of course, that horse was second to Glen Eagles the time after. So if you take a strict line of that form, you would say, well, actually, that looks interesting. But my concern with that race is it was ran on soft to heavy ground, and I'm not sure, even though I don't think Zawak, particularly loved it, I don't think any flat horse does, I did think Endless Drama was perhaps struggling on the ground, so maybe that Endless Drama is improved for the better ground against Glen Eagles, but I just thought that was interesting, but I was just concerned for me about the trip with that.